Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Christina Gowda, author of The Quest for the Black Panty Drawer. I write articles for yoga newsletter in my columns called The Minimalist Yogini, and I also have this YouTube channel to document all the various things I do to live a life more minimally. Additionally, because I wrote a book and it has yet to be published, I do a lot of reading, and one of the books you hear me quote a lot is, you can't see this, but it says Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin, and she is the same author that did The Four Tendencies. So I'm an obliger, and obligers need outer accountability. So the only way these books get read, I have the accountability to you, my audience. So let's get to it. First, I want to do things a little backwards. These are the books we're going to be reading for June. So I'm reviewing the books from May. For June, it's The Woman in Cabin 10. It's by Ruth Ware, author of In a Dark, Dark Wood, an edge-of-your-seat thriller set on the most beautiful yacht in the world. Okay, that's all I know. That's all you know. And I'm not going to tell you any more. I do have a confession to make. Life is a little anxious right now because I have a sick puppy and things are precarious. So I can't really handle any more anxiety than what the world is feeling now, than what's going on in the US right now, and a sick dog. So I gave up on page 10 because it opens with a really horrifying scene, and I was like, nope, can't do it. I'm just mentally too fragile. So I will pick this up because I'm in a better place. Here's the next one for July. I love these kinds of books. I still don't know what my thing is, and I'm discovering I like these kinds of books. So this is The Last Day of Night by Graham Moore, and if you've seen the movie The Current War, you'll appreciate this book. So it involves Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla, and I'm not going to tell you any more about that. So this is what we'll be reading for June, and so I'll review it in July. Okay, this is what I read for May. It's called The Arsenal of Democracy. This is basically a history book, and I seem to love these kinds of books. I like history that's told like a novel, and there's a word for it. Apparently it's called narrative nonfiction. So it turns out that's my jam, specifically history. If you're ever in the city of Detroit, I highly recommend that you do the architectural tour. And I did the architectural tour of the Fisher Building. So I forced my husband against his will to wake up very early on a Saturday morning, drive to Detroit, and we did the tour of the Fisher Building. He missed half of it because he really needed coffee, but I was fascinated because episodes of Mad Men was filmed in there. And the tour guide just said briefly that the Fisher Building had a golden roof that had to be covered with tar because the majority of the war effort was being conducted in Detroit, and you couldn't have such a conspicuous building. And he moved on, and I said, what majority of the war effort? What am I missing? And I just, followed with the tour. It was really great. And it wasn't until about a month ago that I realized exactly what he was talking about. So this is how Detroit armed America in World War II. It involves Hitler and Germany, the Ford family, the Charles Lindbergh, the aviator, Roosevelt. I have a new fascination for Roosevelt, so if anyone has a biography I could read, please comment below. Really good book. Now, I was reading this in the month of May, and May apparently is Mental Health Month, and I thought, wow, they weren't kidding. May was really hard for me. And then June happened, and June said, wait, hold my beer. So the thing I kept feeling in the month of May, because by then the beauty of like staying at home, it was starting to fade. I was doing fine till like week 10 of the stay-at-home order, and things went downhill very quickly. One of the things I felt was lack of leadership. Like, where is the voice of reason, with respect to the pandemic? We need clear guidance. And New Yorkers were lucky they had Cuomo. We were lucky we had Gretchen Whitmer. But the kind of backlash that I witnessed her face made me fearful, actually. And I just really, in my head, kept wondering, where is our leadership? Where is the voice of reason? Where, is this a sign of the times? And the answer is no. This is just history repeating itself. I didn't know that there was a riot around the time of World War II. And there were conversations between Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Roosevelt. And he said that the riots are undermining America. And it happened, I finished reading this very recently. So it felt like history was repeating itself. And guess what? We won World War II. And I am hopeful that we're going to get through this pandemic and we're going to come out of this better. So if you need some sort of frame of reference for what we're going through now, we've done this before. And here's proof. I found this book fascinating. I have a fascination for aviation. Now, I understand nobody likes getting on a plane, and I don't either. I haven't enjoyed getting on a plane since I was 9 years old. But there was a time when airplanes were fascinating. Flight was fascinating. Lindbergh was a celebrity, and it was really great to see that. So highly recommend this. It's The Arsenal of Democracy by A.J. Blaine. I really like this book. It was such a treat. You might want to sit down for this. This is An Extraordinary, Ordinary Life. And it's by Susan Phillips Berry. Susan Phillips Berry is about the same age as my mom. She was born in 1945. And I'll just read this to you because we're going to launch into a whole lot of stuff. Susan Phillips Berry was a child actor with Boston Children's Theatre. She moved to a diverse and interesting career as a teacher, manufacturer's representative, nonprofit executive, business consultant, speaker, and writer. Susan is President Emeritus of Women's Business Enterprise National Council and its founding president in 1997. The author of 3 books for entrepreneurs, she has been extensively featured in the business press as an expert on the growth and challenges faced by women-owned businesses. WBENC honored her in 2017 with its Lifetime Achievement Award. She was appointed by President Reagan as chairman of the Council on Women's Business Enterprise and by President Clinton to a term as member of the National Women's Business Council. She was subsequently reappointed to council by President Bush. Berry earned her MBA at Virginia Tech. She served as a member of its Board of Governors from 1998 to 2002 and on the Advisory Council of Pamplin College of Business from 1995 to 2015. She is a member of the Board of Directors of the Women's President Organization and a member of the Advisory Council of Enterprising Women magazine. She is married to Richard Berry and the mother of her 2 wonderful stepchildren, Caroline and John Berry. That's all you need to know about the book. Okay, so she said, opens with, I'm interested in the hyphen on your tombstone, the year you were born and the year you died, and I'm interested in the hyphen. Okay, is this an extraordinary life? No, you went to work. So do I, so do millions of women, and so do my mom. And my mom worked weekends, and she took shifts at the hospital. She went months without a day off because not only did she work weekdays, but she took the weekend shift. So is my mom extraordinary? I think so, but is she gonna get a book deal? Probably not. I gave up on this book pretty early, and I'll tell you what made me give up on the book. There's a chapter called Low Expectations. Mom loved me in a her very 1950s housewife way, and with the dreams and expectations that had been formed by her life experiences. What does that mean? Like, does that mean that housewives are different from the rest of us? Because I'll tell you, those 10 weeks of staying at home, it was great when I was making banana bread, but banana bread wasn't reality. The house itself is like 10 jobs. And I actually want to do a video where I think that numbers are important. Only do the dishes once a day, otherwise you lose your mind because it doesn't end. Being a housewife is so hard. You want to ask anyone? Ask a stay-at-home mom during a pandemic. So I gave up on this book, okay? And then, of course, you're my outer accountability, so I said I have to pick up this book and we have to read this. And what happened? The murder of George Floyd. And it was really hard for me to read this book because she did say the challenges she met when working in the White House. There was anti-Semitism, sexism. Okay, you face sexism. And we're all facing that. I'm sorry, but we are. And given what a big part of a lot of Americans are feeling right now, it was hard for me to be sympathetic to her. I'm sorry, but I struggled with this book. And if you're a woman and a business owner, and if you think you can be inspired by this, go for it. It's not my type of book. I like autobiographies. I didn't feel like I got to know every part of that hyphen. I didn't really get a sense of the marriage. I think you, my audience, have a better sense of my marriage from my book and from YouTube videos than you'll get from this book. I didn't get the sense of the relationship she had with her stepchildren. I think you, my audience, has a better sense of my relationship with my dog based on my Instagram feed and my book and the YouTube channel. I really am wondering how she got a book deal. The cover's like mediocre, the title, An Extraordinary Ordinary Life. No, you lived an ordinary life. You went to work, just like all of us did. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not ungrateful for the sacrifices women before me made. This book here, which is written by a man, like, women went to work in World War II, and you remember Rosie the Riveter. This book really, like, it showed like women at work, and it's written by a man, and it's about building the B-24 and Detroit and Willow Run and how everyone retooled. Sound familiar? So instead of retooling the Ford, they made tanks. Guess what's happening right now in the Motor City? People retool. Instead, they made ventilators, they made masks. So this I found incredibly relevant. This I found as a catalyst for what I'm about to speak to you next. Please be generous, because I've really done a lot of soul searching whether I even have the authority to talk to you about this, so please be kind in the comment section. I think given what's going on right now with Black Lives Matter, now is the time to listen. There will come a time when I can talk to you about racism that I feel, sexism that I go through, discrimination that I go through, my hesitancy to travel to places that I don't feel safe anymore. I would love to go to a rural place in the Midwest, but I'm scared to. I wish I wasn't fearful when my husband goes for a walk at night, because now we don't walk with our dog. He can't walk. He's in bandages and just had surgery. And I feel fearful for my husband when he walks alone. There's a time for us to have that conversation. Now is not that time. Now is a time to listen. So you're wondering, where's she going with this? Well, here's where I'm going with this. In order to write my book, I had to do extensive research. I read in excess of 50 books. I went on all the different influencers' channels on YouTube. I just gave them credit in my references at the end of the book. And I reached out to a few of them and asked their permission and said, would it be okay if I gave you a shout out on my channel? And I think these people are extraordinary, and they're all Black creators. 4 books. These are books that I've read, and I think they deserve to be counted in an extraordinary life. The first one is There Will Be No Miracles Here by Casey Gerald. I read this book when I was writing my own book, and thank you, Casey. It really helped me. This I read in high school, Their Eyes Were Watching God. I think that's by Zora Neale Hurston. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I read that in 10th grade. Waiting to Exhale, I just picked it because I like the movie so much. I thought Angela Bassett was gorgeous. I read that in probably 12th grade in high school. So these are the books I've read. Next, these are the books that people are talking about to read. Gretchen Rubin recommended Deacon King Kong by James McBride, Broken Places and Outer Spaces by Nandi Okorafor, American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson, and that was recommended by PBS NewsHour's book club. This is a movie as well as a book. It's The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Hang in there, people. It's a short list. Okay. All right, these are the YouTube influencers that I've actually consumed their content. This is the perfect time for me to acknowledge their contribution, and I reached out to them, and most of them said, yeah, sure, go ahead, give me a shout out. Okay, so this is Anthony Hadley Jr. These are like minimalism in style. The Style OG, I think he's great for men especially. He's got a great sense of style, and I actually watched his video when I made the evaluating the winter boot video. Our Rich Journey is about finance. It's about a couple that retired at the age of 40 and moved to Lisbon, Portugal. These are all YouTube channels. I'll link everything below. Soldier of Life, he does a great video on digital minimalism. He's an American soldier who lives in Germany currently. Ambrosia Malbrough, fashion. Jerome Parker, he's also fashion and minimalist, but I discovered one of his videos last night, and he said what I'm feeling. If you have a platform to speak out, please do so, because your silence means consent. These are the Instagram people I really like. 2 of these people I'm actually friends with, and the other one is Black and Outside. Watch out for this person. He is really lovely, and I met him on a flight from San Francisco to Detroit. He was raised in the Baltimore area and lives in the Bay Area, and I was in San Francisco last year, and we met, and during the 4-hour flight I had a great conversation, and it was such a pleasure to meet you. So I hope people discover him and his writing. He's just a great young man, and again, it's Black and Outside, and he's on Instagram. And KarenBritChick, she's a New Yorker. I believe she lives in Brooklyn, and she does like Bill Cunningham sort of interviews where she'll walk down the streets of New York and find a beautiful lady in a beautiful outfit, and they'll discuss fashion. So these are the Instagram people. Also, KarenBritChick has her own YouTube channel. Next, these are movies I have seen. I don't like these movies because it stays with me and it lasts, and like a lot of people, you feel helpless, but these are my favorites. Higher Learning, saw it in high school. Waiting to Exhale, saw it in high school. The Help, I saw maybe 10 years ago. The Help bothered me so much, I couldn't concentrate on my work for like a week. The Hurricane, starring Denzel Washington. These are the movies I would like to see. Just Mercy and The Hate U Give. I find that books come into my life for various reasons. For instance, The Arsenal of Democracy and An Extraordinary Life came into my life because my friend and I both belong to a book club, and our library closed because of the pandemic, and so she just gave me books from her collection. So these 4 books that you see right here are all hers until our library opens. But this is one book I want to read. It is The Warmth of Other Suns. It's by Isabel Wilkerson. Now, if you're wondering, what other books are you suggesting? I recommend the New York Times bestsellers list. Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, is still on the New York Times bestsellers list, so that's awesome. Go, Michelle. Our Time Is Now by Stacey Abrams, and How to Be an Anti-Racist. I think this will be good. Ibrahim X. Kendi. So I hope this helped. I have even more. I was very pleased to see that children have summer reading lists. And this is a reading list from one of the children in the neighborhood. And the name of the book is called Dear Martin by Nick Stone. And this is our local high school, one of the books. So if you're looking for a book for a teenager, it's called Dear Martin by Nick Stone. So I hope I helped. And I really think now is not the time for us to air our grievances. Now is our time to listen. And I am deeply sorry. I am so... Forget the trauma I'm feeling watching George Floyd being murdered on camera. I am just deeply, deeply sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for our country. I'm sorry for every Black person that had to see that. I am so sorry for the way the world is. Let's get through it together. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.